Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Jayme. And today we are really diving into a topic. Well, it's many topics, but the actual sort of precipice for it is the as above, so below saying. We've all heard that, right?
All the time.
Do we ever, does anybody ever stop to think where it comes from and why we say it and what it really means?
Well, I know from studying astrology, because I've been studying that.
Because it's the Hermanic, how do you say it?
Hellenistic.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Hellenistic or Hermanic, something like that.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm studying Hellenistic astrology. There's different types of astrology. So, it is an astrology. It is from astrology where what's in the sky is reflected down here on Earth.
Yes.
And we can look back historically at all these things. And that's what I really love about Chris Brennan and the astrology podcast is he's always looking back historically to things that have happened under certain celestial events that are going on in the sky, like right now with Saturn and Neptune. But that's not the topic of this podcast. The topic of this,
and we always forget about the other part of it. So you hear as above, so below, as within, so without.
As within, so without. I don't know that I've heard that as much.
That's the other part of it.
Is it?
And what it means is, so the as above, so below, we can kind of see how the micro and macrocosms reflect each other. But I think people get really confused on the as within, so without, because in our world right now, the common language without means in absence of, but it's actually outside of yourself. It means outside, not actually without. It means outside of you. So as within, so without,
so outside of yourself.
But it doesn't rhyme. So they're like, no, that's not going to be the one.
But that's what it means. As within, so without is outside of yourself.
Outside of yourself. Yep. Okay. So as within yourself, same as be without. On the outside of yourself.
This isn't just poetry, although it sounds really nice. It's a spiritual truth.
For sure.
And in hard moments, it's the thread that can hold you together.
I think about that as the threads.
Yeah, boy.
Weaving its way in and out of all of the circumstances. That's probably one of my favorite things to do when I'm reflecting is to see the pattern as I watch, the different threads weave through all of my situations and how this taught me that and this led me here and this went there. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, when you start doing your shadow work on all the things that you've been through in your life, you will definitely start to recognize those threads. And
there's epiphanies with it.
It's eye-opening.
It's so eye-opening.
It really is.
Well, we're going to explore what this really means, the whole as above, so below, as within, so without. And we're going to apply it to real life situations, especially because you guys have listened to us talk about all of my family's medical stuff. So we're just going to show you how this exists in our personal life. So we're going to do the microcosm. We're going to do the macro, which is up in the sky, things that go on. And then we're just going to see it as a reflection where there's, instead of things actually being opposite, because they are opposite, but not in the way that we think. It's more on a spectrum of opposite where you're all the way to this side or all the way to that side. Like the difference between being human versus being a divine being, right? So we're going to get into all of that. And, that this is all, like Kat said, it's not just pretty poetry and it's not just a theory. It's real life and it's our real life struggles. And I think that when we can connect the two, all the pretty words that we hear and all of the, so mote it be and all of that when we really connect it to our stories, that's when our practice continues to grow and become more powerful because we can feel it. It's not just things we're saying where we're like, well, this is what everybody says. No, you feel it now when you say it, know it to your core.
I think when it becomes when you can find a way that when you can recognize it in your own life and your own experiences,
right.
And then you can put it in the context where it needs to be instead of, why is this shit happening to me?
Yeah,
absolutely. Why is life so fucked up? Why? Yeah. And sometimes life is fucked up right now or at this point in time. I've had lots of situations like that in
we
my
all
life.
have, right?
Everybody has.
You're supposed to. We're going to talk about that too.
It's part of the cycle. So let's get started.
Yeah. So I think the best way to think about this is that, if you've been walking through really tough times, this episode is for you because here's where we really dive into what the fuck does it mean when you're going through such a tough time and how do you cope with it? And a lot of times, for me, when I am coping with a hard time, I don't turn to spells in my practice and magic, and I don't look at my astrology, not normally, because I'm so focused on what the human experience is. I'm not thinking about my spiritual experience in that moment. But this time around, things really changed for me. And we have a tendency to think like, am I being punished? Is this karma? What did I do? Why do I deserve this? Yeah. We go to this.
I think we look for reasons why things are happening in our lives. Absolutely. Why things are like, why is everything in my life falling apart?
Why do I deserve this?
Yeah. Why does one thing after another keep happening to me? And, I guess I would say to that, like, the universe is sending you a message. The universe is guiding you to something.
Ooh. So poetically, here's what I put together. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. And I'm going to write that somewhere. Like, I only wrote that today, but I'm going to write that on something somewhere where I read that more often.
You're prepared for something else, for another direction, for another
path, another partner,
opening of your mind, a way to see things, a perspective, like all of these things. So,
and we can go back to that as above, so below, or as within, so without, because you're being prepared, like, internally for things that you're going to later express outwardly, right? I had an epiphany for that too while I sat in the hospital with Cameron for all those, like, the last 2 months, thinking about, I know that I married somebody who's 20 years older than me, and I'm going to be his end of care partner. Like, that's something that I'm going to have to do, and I accept it wholeheartedly. I will not leave that man. I love him. I may, hire a nurse because some of it I'm uncomfortable with, but like, I get that. I'm being prepared in sort of these ways. So you're not being punished. You're being prepared. And I think with that, I'll just jump right into my story so I can show you guys where this sort of lesson of how we built this, thinking of the as above, so below, And some lessons, they can't be avoided. They can only be witnessed. And I will say that that's something, as a mom watching her child be sick and feeling very helpless towards that, I cannot do anything else besides witness what is happening to my child. Like, I can give all my insight, I can do all my research, but ultimately, whatever his soul chose as a journey, I have to witness that, being his mom.
Well, and I just want to say, as a grandmother, so I'm looking at my daughter and then my grandson going through this, and we don't know what the end is going to bring. We don't know if this is. Through all of this, it happened. I always tell myself I refuse to live in fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to sit around and say, I'm so afraid this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever been like that, because when I hear other people like always saying, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, I think, to me, if you're afraid of things, you're going to bring them on. So I will let myself have a moment of, what if he dies?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if he dies?
You have to walk yourself through that.
But I refuse to dwell on it. Yeah. So, Jayme's watching her son, I'm watching my daughter and my grandson.
Yeah.
And and I had to give her space because she really didn't have much capacity for anything other than what she was dealing with in these moments, in this really difficult time that you've gone through since April 1st.
Which is the reason I'm able to get all this out now, is because everything is so fucking good right now. Like, compared to where we were a couple months ago, like, he got his last PICC line out. He's off of the antibiotics. We still have follow-ups for the next 3 weeks. So hopefully nothing regrows, nothing else happens, but we're just in this really good place, and he looks good and feels good. And like, he's happier, and there's just,
and he's hopeful for the future. So they're having conversations about,
it's super awesome.
What's the next thing?
So, to get more into like just what I've been through, I've been in the hospital since April 1st, pretty much on and off with my son. I took care of him for a couple weeks at home, but what was going on is his body had all of his major organs kept failing. So we went from, he has epilepsy, so there's a brain failure there. Then his lungs failed. Then his heart started failing. His kidneys failed. So one system after another just started shutting down, and the doctors just were like, we don't know why this is happening. We're not sure. And here's my 19-year-old child came to my house that day. He was at my house when all of this started and seemed totally normal. We had a whole discussion about how we build tacos. Like, that's the last conversation I had with him, is how do you build your taco and what does it look like with the hand gestures? So, because people I'm like, if you were to physically add cheese, what do you do? And he's like, he does the sprinkle thing. Well, when Jolene and I had found this out, that like, when you're hand gesturing how you would make something, people do different stuff with their hands. It's so funny. So we had that all on video. And while, it was hard, probably day 5 or 6 when everything was so bad, Jolene's like, let's watch the video of Cameron that we had. And it just made me bawl. call because I was like, oh my God, just it can all change so fucking fast, right?
Yeah.
Like hours before that, he was totally fine. And then all of a sudden, like every organ in his body is failing. So just that's a spectrum, right? Where that's kind of what I was talking about with they're not opposite things happening. It's a spectrum of where you're at. You're all the way to the left or you're all the way to the right of something, being super healthy, being like you're inches from death. So every time, we were just sitting there and like all I could do was witness what was happening to him. There was really nothing for me to do. Like I said, I couldn't do spells. I couldn't bring anything in. We were in the ICU, so I was very limited to what I could even do as far as touching him and all of the, he was intubated, so he was not breathing on his own, just all this stuff. And you're like, I can't even fucking reach him. Like I'm right here in the room with him, but I truly can't reach him. So as I sat there, in the hospital room, just surrounded by all the beeping machines, that'll drive you fucking crazy when you're already not in a good place. And then every machine is beeping all the time. That's what ICU is full of, beeping machines all the time. It's like the quiet terror of the what ifs sink in, or they start flowing into your mind because you are looking at a bad situation. And that's what Kat's talking about. It's like, how long can you live in those terrible what ifs of, things happening? So I felt really, really helpless. I felt stripped bare. Like I physically wanted to do something to save him. I think that's where you get to when you're just watching somebody waste away in a hospital bed. You're like, I want to fight people. I want to punch things. I want to cry. I want to like throw my body on top of his and like tell him like, come back to me. All of the things that you go through when somebody else is dealing with these medical issues. But I didn't react in any way. Actually, what I did is I connected with all the nurses and I got to know them and their lives and their families. And like, that's what I did. The only thing I could do was talk to the people that were there taking care of him and make them think of him as a person and as a son and as somebody who needs to be cared for, because you can find people that they're like, this is a job. I don't really think of that as a human body that I'm trying to care for. And you get other people where they're moms. And so they're doing shower caps and cleaning his hair and, they're brushing his teeth even when he's intubated. And it's like, you could see different levels of care with the different nurses. So the way that I did it is I just got to know them so they could get to know Cameron. I would tell them stories about him so they would think of him as not just a patient, but as a person. Yeah. But so sitting on this couch every day, all day, fucking hours and hours every day, something sort of happened to me. It's like, yeah, my son might die. What am I going to do about that? How am I going to handle that? Where do I go from there? What is going to be my story after that? What am I going to tell myself? How, like, it was accepting that fact that Cameron could die, but then how do I move on? Because I'm still going to be here and I still have other relationships that I want to tend to. And we still have all of this where like, I know my higher purpose, my calling is to teach people, witchcraft and spirituality, and still like leaning into my purpose. How am I going to fucking survive my son dying and then going out and teaching people how to be spiritual? Like that was part of it, right? Like, how do you continue on? But what happened instead was, as soon as I accepted or kind of went into like, yeah, my son could die and I have no control over that. What are you going to do? I heard this little tingling, this little nudging from my higher self, that was like, Jayme, none of this is real. Like, I had to remember who the fuck I actually am. Like, I'm a divine being, right? Like I've encompassed a tiny part of my whole soul into this human body so I could have experiences, but this is not me. This physical body is not me. And so I told myself, like, none of this is actually real. These are experiences that we're having in a classroom of Earth. Cameron's soul is not going to die. He will still be here. He'll still be around. We'll do another life together, whatever. So like, I had to bring myself back to a different place of, this isn't forever. No matter what happens, even if he dies or he doesn't die, none of this is forever. Things will continually change. There'll be more lessons. Like, his soul is safe, even though his body looks like he's dying or his body might die. His soul is safe. It's not going anywhere. I'm not losing him, not truly, right? The physical part of us, this life together as Cameron and Jayme, yes, that is going to end one day. And we all already know that, but his soul is safe and my soul is safe. And so it's like, I had to say that this experience, what really got me through it is this experience is something that my soul asked for and his soul asked for. And I had to accept that. I had to have acceptance for the situations of, I do believe that we have plans so that we can learn lessons. And maybe there is a lesson here for me to be a mother and lose a child. My husband has lost a child. I've thought many times, are we going to be in that boat together where we can both understand each other if we both lose a child? So I've gone through all these scenarios of like, I'll be okay no matter what the situation is, because death is not really the end. And I had to keep reminding myself that it'll suck, I'll miss him, but death is not really the end. So instead, it's like, well, what can I learn from this right now? What can I do for myself right now in this situation where I learn something, where I'm actually growing my soul? I'm having to witness this and accept it. And I think that the acceptance of it all is really where there was a lot of growth for me, because I don't think we want to accept it. I think we want to fucking fight to the end for the people, and we want to be, angry or sad or whatever. There's so many emotions.
We want to avoid it. What we want to avoid the inevitable, that we know we're all going to die. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
And we're like, whenever it's coming, no matter how old you are, you're not ready. You're not really ready.
I don't think anybody wants to really die.
Nobody really wants to leave this plane, because it's all that we know. And we don't remember our lives as our spirit selves and our light that we are when we're no longer in this human form. And so we resist, we fight, we fight to stay alive. I mean, that's part of it.
And we fight the pain that it might be to die also, right? I mean, we avoid the pain of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, my grandmother lost a son in Korea. 19 years old, my Uncle Bobby. My mother lost a son in a car accident at 23, my brother Peter. And so there's been times in my life where I've thought, is that my fate too? Does history keep repeating itself? And so far I've escaped it. But then as I was watching this unfold, I was like, is this going to be it? It was one of the questions that I asked myself, is it going to skip a generation, and my daughter is going to have to suffer the pain of losing a child?
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that was something that I could not dwell on.
Yeah.
You can't think too much about those type of things, because like Jayme said, there's acceptance. I mean, we eventually accept that things happen and we have to deal with them. We're left to deal with them. But anyway,
it's how you approach it, as in, are you learning something from it, or is it keeping you stuck? Was I going to let Cameron's death keep me stuck? Was I going to let him living keep me stuck and be fearful? Because even bringing him home again so we just got home on May 17th or 18th. So, it's been almost 2 weeks.
10 days?
Yeah,
2 weeks?
Like that,
something like that,
yeah. Was I going to dwell and hover over him and like check if he's still breathing all the time? Like, how was I going to react to this? Those are all choices that we have. And I think some of it is when we look at it and we're like, I'm deciding to do this, and you can try it for a little bit and you can always shift how you do it. But what are you really learning from it? Are you learning that you're more scared than you are? Because then you can like amend that, right? You don't have to, you can start walking yourself out of the fear of always being afraid. Or are you like really detached? Because in my former life, in my 20s, when I was surviving, I kept people at bay because I didn't want to go through hurt when things happen with them. I feel everything too much. And so from my 30s on into now at 44, what I've allowed myself to do is feel more and accept people more and actually listen to things and not create so much distance, because like pain sucks and watching people hurt sucks. But I think loving them is better, than not having it at all. Like having the pain and loving them is better than not having any of it at all for me. That was what I learned. And so even with this, it's like, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to handle this? How does this grow mine and Cameron's soul together? I will say that it's been wonderful having him live back at home. I can't lie. I love seeing his face all the time, every day. We sit down when I had to do his infusions, like we would sit down and for 30 minutes every morning, because I had to give him his antibiotics over a certain period of time. It's like we would have some really great conversations.
You guys were always close, though.
Always. He was my best friend.
You guys are always really, really close. There were only, one kid that you raised by yourself.
Yeah.
And that kid becomes a mirror of you.
Oh my
because
gosh.
everything even though they're their own personality, but still so much of, they absorb so much of you, and you teach them the lessons and a view of the world, a perspective of the world that you want them to have, this positive outlook on the world, which is yours. Or
I try.
So,
yeah.
So, well,
I know it's a lot. It's heavy. It's hard to move on to like the next thing because we could probably talk about that forever.
Yeah, we could talk about that forever. But what it reminds us of is that life is full of contrasts. You know, emotion and courage, shadow and light, moon and sun.
The moon and sun. These, and we could say opposites, and that's fine. But they're opposites on a spectrum, which means they're actually connected. So they're not truly opposites, like apart from each other.
When we have those reflective moments and sort out or sort of an out of body experience, we can really see how as above and so below can be applied in every situation to help us accept our journey and not fight against it.
Acceptance and not fighting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we get the stuckness. You know, that creates more shadow work when we fight against it, I think. And we're not.
Man, I mean, I can't even tell you all the situations that I've been in where I wish I had just accepted it way before I did. Like I caused myself a lot more pain by fighting against what was happening, by trying to change what was happening, by going against where the universe was trying to lead me, you know, and I fought it. I mean, cause I'm pretty hard-headed and stubborn. And so when I decide on something, I figure I know what's best. But the universe often has other plans for us. And as soon as we can let go, you know, start letting go of what we think we need and allow things to happen and start looking at them in a more reflective way. Like what's really going on? I know I heard you say this throughout this experience, even with, starting in March, even with your husband, it's like, okay, what's the lessons in here for me? What is the universe trying to show me? What am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to take away from all of this? Because it feels really bad when you're going through it. It's really shitty and painful.
It's
exhausting.
It drains every part of you.
Draining and emotional, and it's unending. You know, I mean, for the time that it's happening, it just feels like this is your 24/7 life. And it really was.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we get into the like as above, so below sort of way of life, I want to dive into this with you guys because we say it, and I want you to always remember the second part, as within, so without, because you're going to see that you're a mirror image. You know, there is this like, it's a cosmic mirror, if you will, what the stars do and the planets and sort of the shifts through that. And we can find ourselves, pieces of ourselves in every zodiac sign. That's something I always had a problem with. Like I would read all the other zodiac things. I'm like, well, I have that trait. Well, I'm kind of that way. Well, I kind of have this. And I'm like, I'm not all Pisces or whatever. Right. So you're like, it is this cosmic mirror that everything that happens up there can also be reflected in us, through us, within, and then also on the outside of us in our daily lives. And like, there's all these cosmic mirrors is really how I think about it. So just starting with the basics of it, the as above, so below, as within, so without, it expresses the idea that everything in the universe is connected, which I've always believed. I'm like, even the weird butterfly effect thing, like I've always just thought that's such a cool sciencey way to say one tiny thing over here can change like the ripples that go throughout, you know, everything. So it's the microcosm, right? The microcosm that's like your body, your breath, your ideas, your mind, your spirit. That's all reflected in the macrocosm, which is like why you feel connected more with Jupiter versus Saturn, or, you know, Pluto is your planet because you're a mortician. I don't know. There's just these things that you can really connect with that are reflected outside of your thoughts and ideas and stuff that you only thought was part of you. And you're like, no, it's part of them and it's part of them. And they've got it. And this is, I think, how we create best friends instantly and soulmates really quickly and fall in love at first sight, because that is a reflection outside of ourselves of the things that we think about ourselves. So the macrocosm is like literally everything in the sky, the universe, all the little things that tie us together, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I mean, if anybody knows that one. So there's lots of ways that all the strings tie everything together. And that's what the as above, so below, as within, so without is really talking about. It's like uncovering the strings that tie everything together that, I don't have another way to say that besides tying everything together with little invisible strings.
What happens in the heavens, spiritual, energetic, and cosmic realms influences what happens on Earth. And what happens here also affects the higher realms.
Yeah.
As within, so without, your inner world, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, shapes your outer world, your circumstances, your relationships, and your manifestations.
Absolutely.
There are so many books on what you think about, you bring about. Joe Dispenza, there's another guy who actually talks about you can change your life by changing your mind.
Yeah.
This is so... It's like scientific.
It is science, technically.
If you believe, you create your own reality.
It's energetic law.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's energetic law. That's a science.
And, if you, I mean, you can look around the world and see people who like believe a certain truth, and you're looking at them going like flat earthers is an example. They believe the earth is flat. They believe that.
They truly do.
They really, really believe it. So they created their own reality in believing that the earth is flat. That's just an example. But the point is that we create our reality with our thoughts. And by changing our thoughts, we can change our reality. I think that's
start changing what's happening to you.
You can, and this comes from within. So it starts with, what are you thinking about? And we've talked about this a lot. Like, what do you spend? Where's your mind go when you're all alone?
Chatter, for sure.
What kind of thoughts do you have? Are they positive? Are you thinking every time you look in the mirror, God, I'm fat. Oh my God, look at that cellulite, or my boobs sag, or my hair is ugly, or whatever.
Just
if
dirty.
You think those things, that's the inner thoughts, but that's then going to be
going to project it outward.
It's going to reflect out into the world, and that's what you're going to project to people, and that's what unknowingly people are going to see you that way because you see you that way.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're overwhelmed or stuck, I will say that there's just some things to ask yourself so that you can figure out where you're at right now. Like maybe listening to this, you don't even know. You're like, fuck, am I stuck somewhere? Have I not got over something? Have I done this, that? And other times we know we're like, I have a huge block around, my dad passing or whatever. Like you already know it. And you're like, not going to look at it, avoiding, don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So if you feel stuck in a feeling, in a situation, in life, in a circumstance, whatever, ask, what is it supposed to be showing you about your inner world? So to have something like, I can't deal with my dad's passing, or I'm not going to talk about it, I'm not even going to acknowledge it. What does that show to you about you? Like, what's your inner world then? How is it not able to accept loss? Is it because you don't really understand? And no, I can't even say that. I'm not hypothesizing. Actually, I've talked to people who have had parents pass and they won't deal with it because they don't have a solid belief on what happens after death. So they can't deal with the death yet because they don't know enough about, is their soul okay? Because they weren't Christian, are they going to go anywhere?
What's beyond this?
Yeah, exactly. So they can't get to the next step because they don't. After that question or after those things, they're like, oh, because I don't know what happens.
And I think that's especially true when we get out of the realm of organized religion, because organized religion teaches that here's the afterlife, here's what happens when you die. If you do this, then this happens. And if you don't do this, then this happens.
Yeah.
But when you decide to leave an organized religion and you take a path like witchcraft and spirituality, and you go down that, then it opens up all of these possibilities. And you're like, oh shit, that's kind of scary. It's like, is it real? Because who's teaching that? Where's that? Where are those lessons
right?
From?
This is what I get so often. It's like, well, how do you know that's the right way? I'm like, it's the right way for me. That's all that matters. Like, I'm not,
it's what
right
you believe, you can, and actually there are plenty of books. If you've never read like Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls,
Wisdom of Souls.
Ooh, yeah, there's stories, Michael something, but anyway, just Destiny of Souls, Journey of Souls. You can read books or listen to audiobooks about
life in between life.
Yeah, in between this and the other realm. And you can, and these are people who went under hypnosis and could remember their spirit selves and what it was like on the spirit side. And I'll tell you,
so cool.
When I listen to that, it just I swear, it makes me feel like, I totally 100% believe it. Just like when I was little, I believed if I didn't say the Lord's Prayer every night before I went to bed, I was going to hell. I don't know if I really believe that, but how religion was if you don't do this, then that. But I believe as, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, all of those soul books, the author's first name is Michael. I can't remember his last name at this moment. But anyway, if you're in any doubt that there's life beyond this, that you truly are a human, you're having a human experience, and this is not who you are. This is your human form, but you live on.
Yeah, your soul is something.
Your soul
else,
lives on,
bigger,
and it's light. And anyway, it's wonderful books. Sorry, I got off track.
No, I mean, listen, actually, that's what I started listening to halfway through Cameron's hospitalization, because the beeping and the dinging. And I tried to like play games on my iPad and pretend like it's not happening. I tried to avoid it, all of that. And instead, I really had to get back in touch with myself, especially after I had that moment of realization, like, what am I supposed to learn from this? Yeah. I might be a mom who loses a child. What do I do? Am I going to go to a group? I walked myself through the processes that I would try to do to heal. But ultimately, it was just like, yeah, I need to get back in touch with things that feel more spiritual. And listening to the audiobooks of those 3 were good for me. Like, it kept me in a place. And I remember at one point, it was the first hospitalization for Cameron when he was intubated. And I hadn't heard him speak in 10 days, you guys. Like, that was really crazy. Like, he had been on a breathing tube for 10 days. And I'm going to cry. I leaned over and I whispered in his ear. I said, find your higher self and ask what this is for, and then come back to me. Get your answers for everything that you want to do with your life, and remember who you really are. And then come back with that knowledge. Because I knew that he was still there. He's still here around me. But his body was put into a coma so that they could try to work on all of his organs. And I'm like, get out there and explore your soul. Like, you're able to have these out-of-body experiences, and just go find the rest of your soul and get answers, you know?
And you know what? Here's the crazy thing. Like, when I look at my grandson's face now, I see a change. This experience has changed him. I don't know if he like went out there and explored his soul self when he was under. Oh man. When he was,
I told him to. Yeah,
he was intubated. Yeah, when he was, they kept him.
They put him in a medical coma with a tube for breathing.
Yeah, I don't know if he did those things. I suspect that he did, and he doesn't.
I hope he did.
He doesn't remember them, because words have power. And his mother's like, go out there and find it. Because when I look at his face now, I see a different person. This experience has changed him in a very profound way.
Yeah.
There's a calm. There's a calm in his expression. There's also a knowing, and there's a maturity in his expression and his facial expressions that I'm picking up on when I see him, and I'm like, this has changed him. It's changed him in a very profound way that I don't think that we'll know about. We won't understand it until we start to see it manifest. Right, and I think we're already seeing that, because, Jayme, his mother and him are talking about like, what's next? He thinks I'm going to go home and get a job. This is home for him. My house is his home.
He lives here.
go home and get a job. He's like, and his mother's trying to guide him to like, let's think about beyond just get a job so you can have a job.
To make money so that you can pay yourself a bill. Like, we need to get like way bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he's lucky he has such a spiritual mother to guide him. He's really fortunate, and he knows that.
Yeah.
I believe he knows that.
Well, he wanted to avoid it for so long, right? He would tell me like, don't bring your witch shit into parenting. That's not responsible. Like, he would say things like that to me. Like, you can't talk about that. That's not parenting. I was like, but it's me. It's who I am. That is parenting for me, But yeah, something definitely changed in him. And we're excited to see it go forward. And I don't know where his journey leads, but I do realize that I only get to witness his journey. I don't get to control it, and I don't get to decide what happens to him. And as a parent, I think part of that is really terrifying. But it's also exhilarating that you can watch somebody become themselves, like whoever that is, if as things are going good, because sometimes becoming themselves really fucking sucks, and they, don't do well. And I know people, who have gone through that. But for Cameron and I, this experience has changed something, and we're excited. And he's open to listening to more about the spiritual things. And I told him what I whispered in his ear, I didn't keep that from him at all, that I told him to go out there and find his soul self and like to learn things and to come back with it. So the other part of just being stuck and overwhelmed, I want to remind you guys that like another good thing to ask yourself is you might not even realize it, but what part of you needs attention? Ask yourself that. What part of me needs attention right now? Because there are definitely times where the part of me that needs attention is the part of me that's binging Netflix and putting a puzzle together in my living room for like 10 hours. that's a part of me that needs attention sometimes, because I need to decompress from being around people or doing too much or running around. Like I need to sit and create something in a small space. What's one thing that you think where you're like, this part needs attention? I mean, it could be like gardening or laying in bed or being with Tank.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gone through I'm going through some shit right now. On Monday, I went to get Starbucks coffee, and it's like 7:30 in the morning, which is something that I do somewhat frequently. And for no reason whatsoever, I just started bawling. I have no idea why. I wasn't thinking about anything, but it was like, it was some kind of cathartic release that I needed. There was stuff built up inside of me, evidently, because
it just happened. Like in the Starbucks line.
It happened, and I was crying in the Starbucks line. I had to turn away from the barista when she handed me, so that I wouldn't be clear that I was crying. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And then I drove out of there, and like the tears came, and I think I was listening to Taylor Swift. I mean, of course, I was listening to Taylor Swift, some sad song, and I was like,
but then it's so good. Okay, quick side story.
I don't even know what it was about. I'm like,
look,
okay,
I get it.
Right, I accept whatever this is. Evidently,
you needed it.
Evidently, I needed that.
Yes.
So that was something, because I haven't cried I've been really choked up, and I've cried over Cameron, and worried when I allowed myself to
go to that place,
where I would where I was fearful, and or just watching. It was very frightening to watch what was happening and to not know what the next day or the next hours were going to bring, because it was so touching. I feel like, and listen, and he came home that first, the seizure on the April 1st, and he came home like 2 weeks later, 2 weeks
April
in a
15th,
day. And then for the next 3 weeks, he was at his mother's, and when I would pop in and see him, it was like every time I saw him, he looked worse. And the last time I saw him, it was like, I thought to myself, he looks like he's fucking dying.
He did.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It was really frightening. So anyway, I guess I needed to cry.
You needed a big cry. Yeah, I love it.
And I had it too. And there was like, I don't know, there was like nothing specific in my head. I wasn't crying about anything. It was just like the tears needed to come out.
Your body was ready.
I needed to release it.
Yes.
So I think what you were just saying a minute ago about like,
what part of you needs attention?
Maybe you just need a good cry, or you need a nap.
I mean, so
or you need to be creative.
There was three things. It was like, what needs attention, what needs love, and what needs release. And so you got the release part,
And maybe something that's really helping me now, like I'm spending a lot more time in my backyard, and I'm gardening more. So I'm really getting into that, like get out there in the dirt and make my backyard look really nice. And last night, for the first time, I built this, like I had a pool, and I had an above ground pool, and I had the pool taken out because I never got in it, and I was tired of paying to take care of it. So it left a circle, and I was like, I'm going to keep the circle, because the circle had quartz sand in it,
like very
white sand, and our sand here, our yards here, our dirt here in Florida is sand, but it's dirty, ugly sand that looks like kitty litter.
It's fill dirt from when houses were built, but our original sand, the sand that built Florida, was basically the mountains, not the Rocky Mountains, fucking hell,
Blue Ridge,
the Blue Ridge Mountains. Thank you. I grew up next to the Rockies versus being over here on the Blue Ridge side. I still say that almost every time, but the Blue Ridge Mountains used to be massive, and they are quartz mountains. Okay, so when they were eroding over the last 500 million years, I don't really know, don't hold me to that timeline, they built the peninsula of Florida. So that is where this is mountain dust that we walk on, that's so cool and beautiful. And that's why the Florida beaches, especially on the Gulf side, are amazing, because it's this beautiful quartz sand, like the quartz we wear in our jewelry and we have, and white quartz, clear quartz. Also some gray probably, but that's what it
anyway. I went out for the first time last night. I went, and there was a pretty little moon out, it's a waxing moon. And there was crescent. Waxing crescent. And it was so pretty. So I went out, and for the first time I like sat in that circle, and I built a fire pit, which I haven't burned anything in yet because I got to get wood.
Or had people over to sit in the circle and burn wood with her. We're all waiting still. she's getting it together. It's okay.
I haven't really used it, but I sat out there last night, and it was nice. It wasn't super hot. There was this pretty moon. There was these clouds, and I was just like, I had my pen.
Ooh.
Yes. It was really nice. I'm like, I got to do this more. Feet in the sand, where you're feeling the earth, and it's just like
you're grounding at the same time. I love it.
I mean, it was, it was spiritual.
I love that, because when I garden and get dirty, it takes. Like, there has to be an emergency to force me to come in, and I really get pissed off.
She's the best gardener ever. When I go and look at her house, I'm so jealous. Like, everything she does, I want to copy. I'm like, you're such a copycat.
That's copycat. No pun intended.
Like, I don't have any original ideas. Everything I have ideas about.
I get inspiration off Pinterest. It's not all me.
I'm not on Pinterest.
Oh, well, I love Pinterest so much.
I know, that's a millennial thing. I cannot with Pinterest. I'm like,
once you get it, you'll be addicted. I swear. I won't show you. You don't need another thing.
I don't need another thing. Maybe I do, though. It's a distraction. But anyway, we're getting
it helps you create beautiful things. I like all the I like how people
like. Is that how you got your little house with the bug house?
The bug house? Yeah. Yeah.
She made the coolest bug house.
It's nice. It's cute.
I want to totally do it in my yard.
I have so many. I have this debris around, and I wanted to put it to good use. And I have snakes that I want to keep around.
Snakes are actually good.
They're super great for our yard, and I don't. So I built them little places to live that will never be disturbed.
She built little houses out, like I don't know. Their structures are probably out of bricks. Little red bricks, and some of them had holes. And then I saw your Instagram video of her building.
I have an Instagram for my yard. That's just my yard stuff. Because I just put all my projects and everything on there.
That is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like, oh my God, where did you get that? Did you just come up with that idea?
No. I was inspired by other people's creations. So this is actually really big in colder places, because, snakes need places to actually hibernate. But what they need in Florida is they need cover from the sun. They need cooler places. So it's really close to, it's in an all shade area, and I dug down to where the sand is cool so they can go in there and be there during the hottest parts of the day. And there was already one living on that side of my yard under my potting bench.
That reminds me, when I moved, when I first moved here, they had one of those Rubbermaid outdoor things that you put your tools in, with the lid, right? Big, it looks like a big trunk.
Yeah.
And I moved it, and there was 4 snakes that came running, that came out of there, and I was like, oh. So I'm going to move it. I have one left that didn't get, I had 4 in my yard now. Most of them got destroyed by the hurricanes over the years, but I have one left, and I decided I'm going to put it back against this fence, and I'm going to give the snakes a place to go, because right now it's sitting on rock, but I'm going to move it over to where I have a bare sand space and give snakes a place to go, because I have chickens behind me, and chickens and chicken feed bring rats.
They do. You had roof rats or something, remember?
I had roof rats. Roof rats.
I don't know.
I moved my bird feeders close to my house. I have a little, what used to house the pool pump and stuff like that. It's just like a structure, like a pergola. And so I left that there. Yeah. I left that there. And so then one time I decided I would get smart and bring the bird feeders off the fence line and closer to the house. And the next thing you know, I had fucking rats. I had roof rats. I looked them up. It's they're running across my roof. I'm hearing this skittering across my roof at night. And they're is that a squirrel? No, squirrels are not out at night.
No.
That's a fucking rat. And then I saw one coming out. I saw one he came down my drain, and then downspout, and he stuck his head. I looked out. I was just happened to be looking out the window at the right time, and I see this head and these 2 little ears. I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
Did anyone get in the house or in your back porch? No,
not that I know of anyway.
Okay, but she was afraid of that. So that's why she's
I was but anyway, immediately the bird feed got moved back to the fence line. And
near where the chickens are.
But Jayme was like, well, when you have rats, then snakes come.
You get snakes, yeah.
And sure enough, one day, just 3 days after I saw that mouse.
I remember, yeah.
I saw a big ass black snake, you know, and I was like, oh
Black
yeah,
racers.
here they come to take care of the problem for me. Thank you.
Well, and if you have rats out at night, you get owls.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all the cycle of life.
It's an ecosystem, right? Like as you feed one thing, more things come in to feed on that. And then it just like, it creates the,
Anyway, that was, this started with me telling you about sitting out in my circle last night with the moon.
Giving attention to something, giving attention to a part of yourself.
And I went totally off on a tangent about all kinds of stuff in my yard. But that's another thing that I'm doing is I'm spending a lot more time in my yard now.
Yeah.
Granted, it's almost June in Florida and it's fucking hot. So that means you're only working in your yard or I'm only working in my yard until about noon. And then it's just too hot. Then I'm coming in the house. So anyway, but it's a beautiful thing to watch my yard being transformed and like I'm bringing in trees.
Everything that grows from that attention.
Yeah.
You know,
every time I go out there, I just I want to do something else. I get another idea.
Yeah.
You know?
See? You make it work for your space.
Exciting.
All right. So I don't usually write down points that I'm like, if you listen to this podcast and you only remember one thing, because we're already 45 minutes into the podcast, but maybe I'll put it in the description. But
okay.
Honestly, as I wrote this, and this was a very personal podcast for me to write. If you remember nothing else from this podcast, I put, remember this. The more that you bring awareness inward inside of yourself, the more your outer world will shift, and that you will find that will be true 100% of the time. The more attention you give to your inward world, your inner world, the more that your outer world will change. It will shift, change, shift, whichever word you want to use. And that's so in line with the as within, so without. Remember, without is the outside. What happens on the inside of us 100% affects what's going to happen on the outside of in our worlds, in our daily lives, in our relationships, in our job, in our creativity, in our self-care, and our love, in the way we eat or we exercise or we drink or we don't drink or whatever happens. There's a shift when you pay attention to your inner world.
Yes. So there's some things that you can do. We have a few things that you can do if you're not sure where to get started. So if you think about, here's as above. You can align this with the waxing moon or Jupiter's day, which is Thursday.
Yep.
So below, clean your space, pay your bills, take real grounded action. So do something that needs to get done. As within, feel worthy. Speak affirmations like you mean them, like you really mean them. I'm beautiful. I love you. You're smart. You're worthy. And so without, you begin to attract aligned opportunities, not just wish for them. So that's what you manifest in doing these other steps is you will start to see your life transform.
Transform. Yes.
Like you just said.
Word.
Yeah. You will start to see your life transform as you do these things.
And even to think about this in spell work, you guys, because I think a lot of times we get spell books and we read about spells, but everybody forgets why we do them and why they work. And which is one of the reasons why we created witch school to begin with, because I was like, witches need more knowledge of why this shit actually matters. So I made sure to put this in here because this is just another way to say it. The as above, so below. This is in your spells, your spell work, because it aligns with energy in both realms, your intention manifests through action. So you've got these two opposites. You've got intention, which is just thinking about it, and then you've got action. We talked about things being opposites when they're really not. They're on the spectrum of all the way to one side, all the way to another. Action versus intention and just thinking about it. The as within, so without, that's your magic becomes stronger when your inner beliefs match your outer rituals. Don't just do things because someone's like, throw salt through your door every equinox or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Cinnamon blow through your front door. Yeah.
Just so we hear these things and they're catchy and they're like, ooh, I want to do that. That sounds witchy. That sounds fun. But you've got to it's got to be your inner belief that then is expressed outward. So you can do the outward action and do that until you believe it also, right? I mean, that's how we use affirmations. You say it until it becomes your reality. But in not spirit work, in spell work, it's your soul believes you're worthy and the universe is going to respond accordingly. So you can do, if you don't have one, you're not going to have the other, truly. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If you have intention, but you have no action, nothing will happen. If you speak words and do a spell, but you don't do anything else to follow up with that or put any action into that, nothing will happen. So that,
well, and there's a lot of Instagram and TikTok and all these, I see them all the time in Facebook Reels and stuff like that, where it's like, do this spell, say these words, put these things together and light this candle and then blah, blah, blah. Right. And you're like, I did that and nothing happened. Well, why did nothing happen? Is because the reason why nothing happened is because there was nothing happening inside.
Yeah.
And you're not taking the actions.
Yeah.
That support whatever it is that you're trying to, that the spell work was for, be it love, a new job, a new place to live, whatever it is. There can't just be the words and then the lighting of the candles and sprinkle salt and lemon and this, that, and wrapping something, there can't just be those things.
That's only one part of it. That's action. And you need the other.
Yeah. And we do those things because it makes us feel more connected, or it gives us something to do, because honestly, you could sit and think and just concentrate on the future that you want for yourself and do a vision board. You would never need to do a spell if you didn't want to, and you could just envision it and you could make it come true. But if you just light the candle and pour the salt and, put the crystals around it and stuff like that, and then don't do anything, or that
you don't feel it or believe it, or it's like it doesn't match your inner world,
then all of those words and all of those pretty little things and then the herbs that you put with them and all that, it's meaningless.
I think that's why sometimes when I have spell books that other people have written, I'm like, that's great, but those are not my real words. And I've admitted this to you guys many times over since we started everything. My spells include cussing because that is how I speak normally. So if it seems appropriate to say it like that, which is my real language, I will say a curse word in a spell. That's okay with me. I need it to reflect exactly who I am right then. I don't need it to be so poetically, created that it doesn't even, I feel like I'm reading an old scroll. I don't need it like that. I need it to be quick, like my language. I'm witty, I'm funny, I'm sarcastic. I have a very, I have a potty mouth like nobody's business. And so if my spells
include that, she was a sailor, so you got to expect part that. Of it.
Well, and as you were saying, like doing stuff with spells, when I was in the Navy and on a ship, I couldn't bring any shit with me. Definitely couldn't burn anything. Like we had so many limitations. My spells all existed as words that I would write, but then also I would turn those words into
action.
No. Oh my God. I'm thinking
Mantras?
of the word I'm thinking of talismans, but that's not it.
Oh.
Sigils. Jesus.
Oh, sigils. Okay.
Goddess bless. I almost lost my iPad. Sigils. I learned about sigils very early on in my witchcraft discovery. And that for me, because my resources were so limited. I mean, I couldn't even change the color of anything. You guys, I was in a fucking uniform. I couldn't wear any nail polish I wanted. I couldn't wear any color makeup I wanted. No
jewelry, no crystals, nothing.
Nothing. No, it's all dangerous, especially on a ship. It's all dangerous. You should never wear rings on a ship, and necklaces and all of that. But you got to use what you have. And it starts with like your inner world. That's what you have. Mm-hmm. You need nothing else but your inner world. And then things will follow in the outside world as you change that.
It's one of the reasons why we say the magic is not in the things, it's in the witch.
It's in the witch. That's right. The magic is in the witch. That's right.
It's not in this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I know. It's like, we keep getting off on these little side things. Yes. I will say that to see how the opposites line up, or how we have this reflection as above, so below. Nature really is the best thing for that. And by nature, I mean like, the moon going through its cycles. It's never the same.
The season's changing.
The season's changing.
We have periods of where we've got beautiful flowers, and then everything dies.
Yeah.
And everything's brown. I mean, this was really true.
Yeah.
This was really true for me. I don't see the seasons change as much here in Kansas City, although in Florida. Yeah. But in Kansas City, definitely, the fall, all the leaves were changing colors, falling off the trees. And for 6 months, everything was brown and gray. It was so depressing.
It's more subtle here. We have, when you start to garden and learn weeds, probably, you'll see which ones only last for, like, they're only there for these 3 or 4 months. And then they reseed themselves and they don't come up again until next year. We have a lot of native plants that are like that. And so in Florida, you have to have a much higher awareness to watch the seasons change here, because if you're going to plant spiderwort in the spring, you're not going to see the effects of that until the next spring. Like they're not going to reseed in the fall.
You can't really grow anything in the summer here. It's too goddamn hot.
Yeah, unless you have a really shady spot.
Yeah. So I've got 3 garden beds that I started like last year. I've yet to plant anything in them. I bought seeds, but I'm like, you know what? I waited too long to get going. I'm already planning to put up a shade.
Yeah.
I'm planning to put shade over them because the sun is just too intense here.
It is. It's
very hot here. Will just wipe everything out. So
cook.
Yeah, it just cooks it. You can't. It doesn't matter how much water you give it. The sun is too harsh. So,
so we said that we were going to do. Sorry,
nope. Go ahead.
We said we were going to do here's our personal lives. We're gonna show you how the as above, so below really works, and we just shared a lot of personal stories, and a lot of our insight is how this has shown up in our lives: as above, so below, as within, so without. Now we're going to turn it to Kat's new profession soon, but. Seeing this so we just talked about, which is basically the microcosm. It's us, our small parts in the world. And then we're going to talk about the macro. I have those right? Macrocosm, which is the bigger picture. It's the sky. And
micro is you, and macro is the universe.
Macro is big, yeah.
It's basically the universe.
So
the sky.
I think what's really interesting about our whole outside world, outside of ourselves, is that we forget that how connected we are to it. Every precious metal that we have comes from a star exploding. Science-wise, this is why I always mix science and my spirituality, because that shit lets me know that it's not all in my head. The iron in our blood, iron is only produced... Shit, I should have wrote it down, but iron is only produced when nebulas are forming and then stars explode from that and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole process to where how iron is formed, and it's only formed in one place.
Up, by the way, you can Google this.
It's sad that I don't have the facts for you now, but imagine that the thing that we have in our body, these vitamins and proteins, and we have actual iron, right? That only is built in the universe when stars are being formed. And so if we have it in our blood, we have stardust in our blood. That's how connected we truly are when we get into the science of it. And sometimes I like to remember that I'm still a divine creature as a soul, but my body it has taken so much for us to have the human experience that we're in this body right now because of all of the resources that had to come together for that. So I think that I was going with nature on that. I actually don't know why I started that conversation. My mind just went blank because when I hear science, I love science so much.
I think what you're trying to say is that nature is the best teacher of this law because we can watch the seasons change, the moon cycles, the tides rise and fall.
Yes.
And you know what? And we can look at that and say, we're meant to shift too.
We're meant to shift.
We are meant to shift.
Not be the same, not stay the same forever. Mm-hmm. If you're not changing, it's not good.
Yep. So if you've ever asked yourself, why am I feeling so many things at once? Why can't I be happy? Why can't I be happy?
Why can't we be happy all the time?
How about just why can't I be happy? Not even all the time, but why can't I be happy?
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're human and you're a divine being. We tend to think those two things are opposite, but they're not really. They're like you've been saying, they're on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
They're on a spectrum.
We're blended together too. So when we're existing in this life, we're both human and divine being at the same time. There are times when we're at our base level and you're just a human because you're probably super shitty and just trying to survive and you don't care about anybody else but yourself.
Yep.
That's probably the extreme survival mode, right?
That's your survival mode.
Nothing spiritual right then. We've all met people like that.
Well, when we've probably all maybe experienced that
possibly.
Well, I know I have because just the choices I made in my life left me in survival mode a lot. So I've experienced that a lot. I did better with my kids, especially this one. If you're in survival mode, you're not connected with your divine self.
Yeah,
you're really just you're trying to feed yourself. You're trying to put a roof over your head, and you're trying to stay safe and alive. That's it. That's your focus. And that's one end of the spectrum.
So the key to all of this is really just balance. We should never be extremely one or the other. We can't be all divine while we're here on earth having the human experience. That's where Pisces get that thing we're all in the head and we live in the dream world, because that would be all the way towards the divine side where you're like, I'm just going to pretend like none of this fucking exists. I'm going to live in my own world and I'm not going to learn the lessons here. I'm going to ignore everything and I'm just going to live happy over here doing whatever I want.
And Scorpio's like, fight, fight, fight.
I love that. And Cancer's like, cry, cry, cry. No, I'm just kidding. The water signs, I love us. We are all just like, we need to have like me, you, and a Cancer together.
Me, you, and Lisa, right? Lisa's our Cancer in our family.
And she's so quiet.
She is so quiet. I bet she's not as quiet as she is, though. I bet she can get loud because, the quiet ones are the ones you really have to watch out for because
they used to say that about me.
Because when they finally get their voice,
embrace something.
When they finally get their voice, watch out. But you know what? In the next couple of months, we're going to move between. So we're going to like kind of shift
this duality thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to
talking about that spectrum, right?
Yeah, spectrum, right. So in the next couple of months, so here's something interesting that you've probably never thought about. Cancer and Leo. The sign Cancer and the sign Leo. So Cancer's the moon, Leo's the sun, right? And they are right next to each other in the zodiac wheel. And they are also in the hottest part. They're together in the summer. So they,
I know Cancer season has our longest day of the year.
Yeah.
That's like the sun rules that whole time.
So we're going to move between these two zodiac. Right now we're in Gemini season, but we're going to move between these two zodiac.
Cancer and Leo.
And they are opposite. And actually, so again, I'm going to bring out a little bit of my astrology knowledge. So if you're looking at the astrology wheel, which of course you probably think about only the signs, but if you think about the houses, third house is in Hellenistic astrology is called the house of the goddess, and opposite that in the ninth house is called the God, the house of God. It's not really the house of God, but it's called God. So
not
you have
God like religious God,
like religion,
like
but
masculine.
Yeah, but that's sun. So they are those two signs, the sun and the moon, are opposite each other in the zodiac wheel. And I'm not talking about signs. I'm talking about where the actual luminaries or planets in astrology, the moon and the sun, even though they are actually luminaries, they're called planets. They're opposite each other on the wheel.
Because they should be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you think about what the sun represents versus the moon, and I find this, I wanted to say, I find this in witches. Like most witches are like, I love the moon, or they're like, the moon's okay, but like the sun. And I have found that witches tend to, in their practice, be more sun witches or moon witches. And I know that sounds so weird, and I've never called it like that. That's not a thing. It's not a label. It's not a hashtag. That is just something that I have observed, where some witches, like, they love the sunlight and everything that happens in the sunlight versus
I'm
the
like
moon.
Totally moon.
I know.
Moon because
me, you, and Jolene are all moon.
We're all
moon.
We're all moon.
But we all have you and I, our sun signs are water, and her moon and rising are water. So that would, I think that could give an inclination. Back when I knew a lot of these witches, I didn't ask them all their signs. So, but I would just find that in my practice, as witches either really love doing things in the sunlight, where they was like very visual, very open, or it was all about nighttime and possibly secrecy and being hidden and loving the occult part of it, because occult literally means to be hidden from sight. So I don't know. That's just, there's a spectrum there. We got sun witches and moon witches.
Duality is what it is.
Yeah,
it's
for
sure. Dance of duality.
The dance of duality. So poetic. I love that. The dance of duality, my dear.
That brings us to our next subject: the sun, the moon, and the dance of duality.
Yes.
So first we have the moon, ruled by Cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer's watery, emotional, and nurturing. It feels everything. My youngest is Jolene, is a Cancer moon. Good Lord. Let me tell you something. That explains so much about her, because I didn't know for a long time. Like, I didn't pay attention to that. If I could do things over today, what I would have done as soon as my children were born is I would have looked at their charts.
Had their whole chart.
I would have had their whole chart. I would have been analyzing that shit. I would have been able to understand them. I would have known what they need.
Yeah.
If you're a new mom, I recommend it highly.
Do you think that you would have had more grace with us for things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only that, but
that.
I think I would have changed my parenting style to fit each child.
Yeah.
And their needs. And that's what I think that, because, Jayme was really easy for me, but we also share moon and rising signs are the same. So she was really easy. So we connect on that. But the other two were a little more challenging, especially
Jolene's her opposite
my opposite as a Taurus. And I love her so much. And she's such a cool person. And so she's got so many great,
she's the vibrant one of the family.
Listen, she's really cool.
Yeah.
And when I say cool, I mean fun and outgoing and all the things that I'm not. But me and her, we're opposite.
Things we're not.
All the things I'm not, for sure. Like she puts the parties together.
Oh my gosh. If you want to have a good time, you're calling her.
Yeah,
like
exactly,
that's
right.
She's the life of the party.
The senses and the pleasures, and I'm all about.
She's so good at it.
I would be sitting in a corner going like,
overthinking,
dwelling over something. Like,
that would be the way it would go.
But anyway, so Cancer, we'll go, but Cancer is the sacred mother, the protector, the intuitive.
Yes.
And I would say it fits as within. So that's Cancer. And then we're talking about these, the two luminaries, these two planets.
Sort of on the opposite ends, right? They're considered opposites, but it's a spectrum. They're not. There's some of each in both.
Exactly. Then we have the sun. Then we have ruled by the sun, Leo. Fiery and bold and expressive.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to shine. Leos want to shine all the time and lead and show the world who it is. And this is definitely the without. So
it's the outside. Outside.
Yeah.
Remember, without means the outside of you. Yeah. I just, when you put these signs next to each other in the zodiac, like they look like they're opposite directions pulling apart from one another. I mean, it's like first you have moon, then you have sun. You go from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other, and you're like, whoa, whiplash. Can I even handle this? But I just...
Well, one says, stay home. I mean, Cancer is definitely a homebody. Protect what's precious, nurture, cocoon. And then the other one is
belly.
And then the other one is like go out and be seen and be loud and proud about it, right?
Yeah. So expose yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but like to be exposed to the world, to show your whole self out there and to be on that stage. Leo's always on the stage.
And I almost think that that's why, like you were saying, you've observed that some witches are like more like
sun,
more sun than moon.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they are. Maybe it's just like, again, I don't know their signs or charts or anything. It's just over time I've built this thing where it's like they lean one way or the other.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
it's interesting thing about it is we need both.
We do need both.
We need both.
Well, remember, it's a spectrum. It's not you are one or you are the other. They don't exist separately. They exist together.
And
we need that balance.
And actually, if you're like super watery like me, and maybe even Jayme too, I don't know how much, you could use some of that fire.
Fire.
You could use.
I have a lot of fire in me, though.
You could use some of that fire energy, some of that Leo, some of that sun energy. To like, because I feel like I'm kind of I've come to realize an introvert. Like I'm not outgoing, and you don't think so?
No, I'm not thinking that because I love your realization, because for my whole life, I thought I was an introvert. And then I started speaking to people and I was like, I'm a total fucking extrovert. I don't shut the fuck up. And like, I didn't know that about myself until I'm comfortable. I didn't know that.
Well,
so I love that you're having a realization.
Well, I'm more comfortable, like cocooning and in my little like safe space. And,
I love that.
And also I want to sit back and observe everything. So that's me. I want to like check everything out. Whereas people who are opposite me, maybe the fiery signs are more like they come in and they're like the life of the party. And me, I'm like,
talk to everybody.
They talk to everybody. Yeah. They're super comfortable. Yeah. And me, I need to observe and get comfortable. And like, I watch people and I'm like, okay, no to you, no, you're okay. So that's how I kind of operate. And it's something that I've just sort of come to this realization, like you're an introvert.
You know what?
And that's okay.
You know what I think about, like for me now, because it really shocked me when everybody started telling me that I was an extrovert and they're like, you're not quiet. I was like, what do you mean? That's my whole personality. That's all I've ever known about myself.
Listen, right? If you get her talking, she doesn't.
I just didn't know
love that for you.
Yeah. I accept it for me. I'm like,
I love that for you.
But I had to change the way that I thought about myself. So I think now it's like, now what I realize is Okay, we just said sun witches and moon witches, which is not a real thing. This is just right now. But now I'm going to go even a step further. I think we have sun days and we have moon days, Mondays and Sundays. We have days where we're more moon energy and we have days where we're more sun energy. And I can feel that for myself. And there's always this balance that just needs to be heard and accepted.
Yeah, I'm not always introverted.
No, definitely not. Because let me tell you, let me give her a drink and get her on a dance floor with some good music. And she is shaking it sideways. Okay. Like, no, she can be a light. And when you first moved down here, actually, I felt like you were very bold and you spoke. Well, she speaks what's on her mind.
I do.
So that's sun energy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, this is how I feel. And I don't fucking care if you like it. I mean, there's also healing around that a little bit, but
there's definitely healing around
as we start to uncover these things, I do feel like there can be these days and there's a flow to it, especially as women. You know what? Us women, our poor fucking decision to become women in these lives. Oh my gosh. I really feel like
we wanted the challenge.
You know what it is? The challenge of being a woman. I feel like
we wanted the challenge and we also wanted to make a difference in the world in some kind of a way.
I think that I wanted to ease and comfort and love and spread love and kindness. I think that that's why I came back as a woman, because I have a lot of masculine tendencies about me for rule and order and justice. But I think that the mothering part of me was like, Earth needs a really big fucking hug. And I think that's why I was like, I'm gonna be a woman. I think that's what happened, because you can't achieve that with order and justice and rules.
And
that's not how it's going to happen.
And I came back to just raise really good kids and put them out into the world so they could do awesome things.
That's right. Good job for you.
And I did.
I fucking forgot what I was going to say now, but
well, we're talking about, okay, so we need them both.
We need them
two
both.
Energies. And again, spectrum. Think about the spectrum.
So I think that there's a rhythm for being, actually what I was going to talk about is I think being a woman, especially in today's time, going back thousands and thousands of years now.
Thousands of years,
when the goddess got extinguished from being seen as a person of power, women took on this role of being all the things. That's not what I want to talk about, because that could be a whole fucking podcast. But I think for us, what's hard right now is when we think about the spectrum of emotions between being in your sun days and your moon days. We have the hormonal thing where we can go from sun to moon days very fast. We can go from sun to moon energy in one day. We can go to sun to moon energy in an hour.
I just want to point out that look how fast the moon changes, goes
28
through its
days.
phase.
That's right.
It's 28 days. Look how fast the sun, that's even shorter time. It's 24 hours.
But its cycle is 1 year. Where the moon cycle is only 28 days.
Yeah.
So masculine energy is so much slower to change than feminine energy. I'm so trying not to be like I hate men thing right now, but we do
hate the patriarchy, though. We're not afraid to say that. Fuck the patriarchy.
I just think when you consider that women are that they're closer to the Cancer, the moon energy. A lot of us feel that, and we feel heavy and we feel weighted by our emotions because they're not validated in so many ways. And we see a world that's really run by that sun energy that's always like, go, do, perform, rule, conquer, get what you can. And we're just like, dude, can't we all just like sing and get along? Like, can we just raise babies? No.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But something like that. And Stevie Nicks turned 77, by the way. Just love that number for her. So there's women that inspire us. There's women that come forward and can really help us get in touch and say, I'm okay with this imbalance that we can bring into balance. And that is looking at the as above, so below, as within, so without. The moment that you start thinking about this as, how do I balance these two opposites, air quotes, opposites, and how do I balance these other two, air quotes, opposites, you start feeling like you can get more in line with the things that are going on in your life, you know, relationships, your job, your outlook on the world, how you feel about yourself. Let's just start with ourselves first. If you're going to start change anywhere, start it within yourself. Do the as within first, you know.
So that's a nice transition.
Is it?
Actually, because here's the real shift. What if the goal isn't to get rid of the hard stuff?
No.
But it's to transform from it. So acceptance is a real alchemy. And so I told Jayme when we were talking about this podcast, like, I'm not really sure what alchemy means.
What's a good definition of
like
alchemy?
So we had to look it up. So alchemy is the transformation of matter. It's taking one thing and turning it into another. And the word alchemy is a really old word. And it comes from, because they used to take they would take,
non-precious metals, try to turn them into
sand and turn it into
like tin. Tin is from a different era. That's the combination of two metals. You can't quote me on it, but they would take metals that were not considered
precious or valuable,
and then they would try to turn them into gold or silver. And this was the first levels of chemistry in a real practice. They really were mixing elements together to see what they could get from it. And I mean, this is how some of our metals became about. I mean, we have stainless steel and we have tin.
So if you think about yourself transforming, right? You're transforming from one thing to another thing. That is alchemy. That's alchemy. You're turning from a non-spiritual person to a spiritual person, or
pain into purpose. We've actually done that one.
Pain into
purpose is alchemy.
Yeah.
Okay, childhood abuse into becoming a speaker that stands up for everybody.
Again, another great segue that Jayme has provided for us here. Spiritual growth does not come from escaping your pain.
That's not what it's about. You're supposed to feel it.
Yeah. And as much as that sucks, to have to, sit with that pain, that's how you grow. Your growth comes from learning to sit with your pain, or your hard feelings, or your difficult things that you're thinking about. You're just the hard
your
stuff.
Abandonment.
Yeah. All the things that like weigh you down.
Yeah.
And that make
hurt.
you feel less than, or not worthy of. These are the things that if you can sit with them, and if you can just listen to them, and you can ask what they're here to teach you, these are the things that can help you grow spiritually. You won't, I think that, especially in our society today, we have so many distractions. It's so easy to find a distraction to not have to deal with our shit, but it does not help us to grow in a spiritual way. It doesn't help us to grow at all. In fact, it's just avoidance.
Yeah.
When we surrender to the need to fix everything instead of accept it, we open a door to real magic.
Yeah. Acceptance is the door to real magic, because when you accept it, the block is gone. You can't have a block if you've already accepted something. And block is where we have to learn to do shadow work around it, because you're not moving forward from it. And it's something that's like a thorn stuck in your side, so to speak. But that acceptance doesn't mean forgiveness either. I mean, we've been through a lot of traumatic experiences, Kat and I, in our lives, where I don't even know if I should say this, but there's not forgiveness for that person, but there is acceptance of what they've done to us. There is acceptance.
My own mother, I think, is a really good example. She wasn't, I accept now that she came to motherhood and to parenting with all of her own problems, which of course as a child, I didn't understand. And it's not meant for a child to understand. All you know is like what your mother projects onto you, or how your mother treats you. But my mother is 36, whatever that is. So she's about, I don't know. Anyway, she's old.
Mom.
She was born in 36, and next year's
she's like 91.
Yeah, she's 89. Her birthday's June 8th. And
June 8th?
June 8th around the corner.
Gemini also?
Yes,
shit,
Gemini. But we've never been able to have never had a close relationship with her, and there have been times in my life where I wished for that, and wanted that, and tried to reach out and tried to mend the fences that were broken or mowed down so many years ago.
Yeah.
And I've just finally, at my age now, and this has only happened in probably the last couple of years, because after my stepdad died, who raised me, I didn't hear from her. And so she went into her own little cocoon, and I'm like, I just have to accept that that's who she is. Yeah. And there's power in acceptance. And
there's reclaiming power in acceptance.
I'm not sad about it. I just am like,
You're indifferent.
I am indifferent.
Indifferent. That's a great way to put it.
I am indifferent about it. And it's like, I accept that that's who she is. And I accept that that's the lot that that's our story for this lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It isn't love. It isn't hate. It's just indifference.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. Don't start quoting Taylor Swift.
What can I do? But, well, I will say that like the acceptance part, which can really open the door for magic, is exactly what I had to do. Like when I was in the hospital, to just sort of bring that back around, because I couldn't make Cameron better with spells or magic or prayers or whatever the fuck. It didn't matter. That wasn't the story that was to be going on, right? This is his story.
Yeah.
And what I really could do is just to be fully present for the experience. And that is eyes wide open to what is going on, and just every day going, I'm here, and what am I supposed to learn, and what can I do with it? I could witness his strength. I could witness my own strength, how I got through it, words I said to myself, affirmations I may have said, just going in there every day and like, all right, I'm here and I'm present, you know?
And I just want to tell you something about this experience that I've observed as an outsider watching Jayme go through this. This was an extremely draining, physically and emotionally draining time for her. Yeah. And I had to, because Jayme and I have been, we've been doing the witch stuff for what?
4 years, 5 years. We started in 2020.
Yeah, so over 4 years now. Or in November it'll be 5 years, because that's when we started the meetup, was November of 2020. That was our first thing, the New Witches Q&A meetup that we did for 3.5 years. Yeah. But I had to, I could see what was happening with her. Yeah. And I could see how much it was taking out of her physically and mentally. And so I just had to kind of step back and not, be there when I could, but not try to solve it for her, and not hover. Yeah. And it was something that she had to do on her own. And I know how bad it sucked, and I saw how much it drained her, and I saw maybe another little line,
wisdom lines.
Yeah, a little. Not really. I didn't really see that, but I know that. I'm just kidding. There was no lines. There was no gray hair or anything like that. But I could see the physical toll that it was taking on her. Yeah. And the only thing that I could do was be there if she needed me, but not to be like too much there, where all of a sudden she feels like now she's got to worry about me and what I'm feeling and stuff like that. I had to let her go through it, which was hard as a mother, and then my grandson and all that. So, but it was necessary, and you know what? We got through it. So
I feel like when it's all going on, what I really had to do is, like, I think in the beginning, you're like, fuck this, we're going to beat this, we're going to do this, we're going to, I'm going to do research, I'm going to ask a million questions, I'm going to tell them, blah, blah, blah. And then you just get to this place where you surrender to it, and you're like, I'm just here. I'm just showing up every day. I'm here. I had nurses tell me, like, when Cameron got his first chest tube put in, and like it was supposed to put him into a dream state, and he didn't. My son's body is very interesting. The kid has like resistance to drugs big time. So when they go to sedate him, like, he's been intubated before when he's had a seizure, and in order to sedate him, where his body is physically to stop moving, it takes about 3 times the normal amount to get an effect for him. And this is with a lot of the drugs that they tried to give him. He had a higher than normal level to actually affect his body. And maybe that's why his kidneys failed this past time. I don't know. Maybe they have worked so hard in the past. They like process everything really fast. I don't know. But I knew that when there was a certain place you got to, I just had to surrender to it, and I couldn't change anything. And I had to accept that. There was acceptance that I couldn't do anything. And so surrender came next. Yeah. I surrendered to the situation and what it's supposed to teach me and what's going to happen next, because this life, I know that my soul made a contract with Cameron's soul to come here and do things, but I have no idea what the fuck that is and how I'm supposed to react. So I just revert back to my baseline, which is love and kindness and being there and just being there. When I had nurses tell me that I handled things really well, or that they were surprised I didn't cry, I would always laugh and be like, no, I break down later. Like, I don't break down now. I break down later. Like, right now, if I let the crying start now, it won't stop. Right. I have to just be here for witnessing, and then later do the breakdown, like in a Starbucks line, getting a coffee for no reason. You didn't even know it was waiting for you, you know? Like, that's just one of the things. And crazy enough, like, since Cameron's come home, I haven't had too many breakdown cries about anything. Really, it's just been this, like, it's been I was thinking of the word release, but that's not it. It's been reigniting of things, because he can talk now and he can tell me all of his thoughts and his things. And like, I feel very happy. So I didn't have any breakdown moments when he got home.
So here you're seeing an example of the as within, so without. So outside of
myself.
And the peace.
True.
And the sort of like, there's peace and acceptance.
So much peace and acceptance.
And there's a calm and acceptance too. Like Absolutely. With my mother, like my mother's going to pass. I probably won't even know. My siblings and I don't have a relationship. And so I'll hear about it like I did with my stepdad through social media. And
days or possibly weeks later, which is also crazy.
And, you know, and I mean, I accept that. That's the way it is. So with that so that acceptance from within then is outwardly projected as it's not crushing you. It's not, you're not sad and crying.
It's not crushing you. It's not controlling you.
Yeah.
Like, you're deciding.
Yeah.
And the one feeling that I did get is, which was really weird, is everybody really was watching me. Everybody was really watching how I handled things. Nurses, doctors, when they would talk to me, you know, they're looking at my face, gauging. You know, you see people sort of trying to perceive, what is she thinking? Okay, I'm telling her all this stuff. Is this good? Well, how's her face looking? Is she accepting what I'm telling her? Because I'll tell you what, doctors don't fucking know. They're guessing at everything they do, and they'll tell you that if they're being really honest. That is the most frightening thing ever,
when you have that realization about our healthcare.
They are guessing.
And doctors, it's like when you take your car in because you don't know what's wrong with it, and they try different things to see if this or that works. That's medicine. That's really medicine. They know some things, but so many things, it's like, I don't know, we have to try
Every
this.
Every situation is unique. And that is what Cameron and I ran into, even though he wasn't awake for that.
Yeah, I
was awake for that. And I learned that they are all guessing at what could fix the problem. And they looked at me like, are you buying this? Did you think I need a yes from you? Like, you think this is a good idea too? I mean, I remember there was one medication they gave to Cameron called Depakote. It's for seizures, but it also has been used in the past for things like depression. And I was like, he's definitely been depressed and sad. And they're like, great. You know what? Let's start him on Depakote. I was like, okay, let's try that new anti-seizure drug that also helps with depression. Now, the way that you would normally introduce medication is start out in small doses. They put him on 3,000 milligrams of this a day. And the kid it affected him so bad. And I couldn't get any doctors to talk to me after we left the hospital. I just started taking him off of it slowly because I was like, the fucking side effects were so bad compared to what it could also possibly do for his good.
That's why for 3 weeks he looked like he was dying. Diminishing every day every time I saw him, he was smaller and smaller. He lost 30 pounds over 6 weeks or something.
He lost 30 pounds in 5 weeks.
30 pounds in 5 weeks. And he was throwing up all the time. So that was Depakote.
That was Depakote. And that was, it was lots of, I think he got out of the hospital too early. The pneumonia wasn't quite healed, that we didn't get follow-up soon enough. He needed 8 blood transfusions. I mean, if I go through the list of things that just had to happen to my poor kid, the final result, did we talk about this the last time? The lung surgery. So he had lung surgery.
I don't know if we did or not.
Yeah. So they basically they did lung surgery. They had chest tubes in for drainage. It was a whole ordeal. Well, all of that, we've got to this place where it's really good now, but the struggle and for me to have the growing things inside and then to present that outwardly, every day I had to make decisions about, is what I'm going to say a fearful thought, or is what I'm going to say something that actually helps this situation? And so I've really practiced the as above, so below, as within, so without. There have been times when I text mom, Kat, and I asked her, I was like, what the fuck's going on in the sky right now? I can't, nothing, and I would say all the things that are going on. She's like, well, actually, so-and-so's moving through this and Saturn just changed to this and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that makes perfect sense. I was like, okay, because why is nobody listening to me right now? The whole hospital is on just, they're out of their minds, and it's for one day, but sometimes I would find solace in her wisdom of what was happening in the sky, because I have not had time to look up what moon phase is going on? All of a sudden it's like
there's a lot of things happening in the sky that
didn't have time for it.
When you know that and you know what they mean, the meaning behind them, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's why what I love about the as above, so below is sometimes you're more aware of the so below you, right? And then you ask yourself, what the fuck's going on in the sky to make everybody crazy right now? And so you're looking to the as above. But sometimes the as above is going on. You're like, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. Like, I better not. Every communication double check.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're actually like, you're already acting on the as above where you're like, oof, Mercury retrograde. I better send this email twice. I better like call them and double check they got it. Just crossing the T's, dotting the I's kind of thing. So we act in different ways we sometimes acknowledge the as above first.
We're compensating.
Yeah.
We're compensating for what's.
And then you mirror them in your like reflections. You're like, oh, so wait, first off, you'll be like, oh, this email didn't go through and my bill didn't get paid. And now I have a $15 late charge. And you're like, what the fuck happened? How'd that happen? You're like, then you look over here as above. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde. Damn it. I should have checked that. Okay. So there is this reflection on both ends where you can kind of see and possibly give meaning to it, which is really fun. Because when those things work out and you're just like, I knew it. That's why I'm a witch. I knew it. I knew I could plan on these things to happen. Yeah. I love that.
So I feel like, and I think you would say these words, is that the peace that you created for yourself
yes,
through all of this, because as much as I could see the strain on her face and I knew what she was going through because we were getting text updates. This is happening with Cameron. He's going into surgery, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I knew I could only imagine as a mother, what that felt like and how difficult that.
Sure.
But what she did was she created this calm inside of herself. And then that sort of like eased everybody else. Like the rest of the family was like, okay, if Jayme's not freaking out, then even though we're worried, we know this is bad. This sounds really bad. Yeah. We know he's going into surgery, but he's under care and he's in the hospital and he's getting the care. Even though it was an up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. She created a calm that the rest of us were like, okay, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think that we have that power too, to say, I could feed everybody else's fears, or I could just hold on to it, and surrender to the situation.
Or I think it's, no, I don't even know if it's holding on. It's just kind of accepting that's what's going to be is going to be. And you're sort of like on this journey and you don't really know where it's going to take you, but you know that there's an end to the journey. You're on a journey. There's going to be an end. You don't know what the end is going to be. Is it death or is it he's going to get better?
Yeah.
We don't know that. And so instead of dwelling on either one of those things, you're present.
You're just present for that day. Yeah.
Just present for what's happening in the moment and not trying to project like what happens tomorrow, what happens next week, what in 3 months from now.
The worry of the future.
Because there were too many unknowns and there were too many things. There was constant changing, constant medication changing, constant updates, this, that. I mean, it was just... Anyway,
it was guesswork. I mean, that's what I said.
Really
doctors are doing their best, I think, but it is guesswork. They don't know what's going to fix somebody all the time. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's like you have this bacteria and this antibiotic cures it. Boom, done, easy, because they've had that experience. But when you've got a 19-year-old kid that every system in his body is failing, they were like, you want to try this? Well, like, we've talked to all of our group of other doctors and we think this might be the best thing. What was horrible to hear for not only my kid, but my husband's medical emergency this is the worst case I've ever seen in my 30 years of practice. And for that to happen in March and then happen again
shared that with
in May. I heard it for both of them. Both cases. Is that this is the worst case we've ever seen in my 30 years of practice. And so they both have been in practice over 30 years, which is pretty crazy. And it's like, why is this happening to me? So I know that people would say that's a coincidence or whatever. It's not that. I just feel like this is reflected in the things that are supposed to happen to my loved ones in life right now. And so this lesson, it is for me. It is for me to decide how I'm going to handle people's medical emergencies, how I'm going to plan for their end of life things. How am I going to, there's all this bigger stuff that comes up with it, since both of them had these worst case scenario I've ever seen in 30 years of practice. One is a cardiothoracic surgery and the other one is, we're not going to say exactly, but it's a medical emergency that could have ended in death. And his case was so unique and rare.
It should have ended in death, probably.
Yeah, we just learned. Funny enough, we're at our local bar that we love, these brewers that we love so much, great family. And the doctor who performed the medical procedure on my husband was actually there. And if we didn't know his name or anything, everyone was like, don't you know Dr. blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no, no, not really. But he came over to introduce himself because, these are craft beer drinkers and we're all like a big community. Come to find out, this guy knew everything about my husband's procedure. And he's like, did it have a this with a that? And we're like, it did. And he's like, I remember you. Because I was like, it was March. I know the day. I was like, it's March 7th. And he's like, yeah, a couple months ago. I was like, dude. And all he said to him and he said to me, and he kept looking at me with these fucking eyes of like, oh my God. He's like, dude, you're so lucky to be alive. Like your case is so rare. Like this doesn't happen. This is like that, just to be able to bring you out of that. Like that's so rare. And he kept looking at me. He's talking to my husband, but like over my husband's shoulder, he's looking at me going with these sad eyes, looking like, dude, you're almost a widow. Like I could just feel what he was saying to me. It's like, oh my God. So to have two instances in the same couple of months,
what does this mean? There's a bigger story. There's a bigger meaning.
Yeah.
And we don't, and it's unfolding.
It's unfolding. And definitely unfolding. We'll keep you up to date on it.
Yeah. It's unfolding because we don't know where
all the implications that this gives, Yeah. It gives so many implications.
Yeah, in a year from now, we'll look back at this time and go like, oh my God.
That's what we learned.
Oh my God. This is it. This is why this is what took me down this path.
It's so wild. Yeah.
We've gone like again.
I think our podcasts are just going to naturally get longer. I don't know
what happened. We used to be able to keep these to an hour, and maybe it's just because of all the things that we as a family have gone through.
Yeah.
But we've gotten really long-winded and shared a lot of stories. But hopefully that this is connected with you in some kind of way, and if it has
something,
like helps you, know, like maybe you're going through some.
Look at the reflections. Look at the ripples. Look at the invisible strings.
So in closing, let's just like to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Whether you're meditating under the moonlight or facing life's fires, both are sacred.
Mm-hmm.
These experiences that you're going through, whether it's super chill and I'm sitting out next to my fire pit that doesn't have a fire in it with a beautiful waxing moon
growing. It's
waxing
growing
moon, and it's cool outside, or you're in an emergency room with your loved one.
I'm wondering where
they're teachers.
Both are teachers.
These are teaching experiences.
Both situations, to learn something. They're teaching experiences so that you can learn something. So the job that you have in those experiences is to reflect and learn, to uncover what that meaning is. So until next time, may your shadows guide you. May your light lead you. And your soul remember, like what I told Cameron, get out there. When you dream, ask your soul to go to your higher self, get messages, get feelings, get downloads. You don't have to remember them for them to actually have an effect on your life. But this is all just the earth school. We're so much bigger than this. But while we're all here right now and you're listening to this, class is in session. We love you guys so much and we'll continue to be here for you. All right. We love you. Mwah. Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.